his trial, a greater entity than God himself. Therefore, I must treat myself as belonging to God. My body is God's body, my mind is God's mind. Therefore, any act of self-destruction is the greatest of sins. Conversely, loving and protecting oneself are acts of the great goodness. That's why suicide, the act of the self-destruction, is such a momentous violation of heart. Suicide contributes to breakdown of the universe. That's why if you go to spiritual world, suicide treated as a greater sin than sin of the fornication. Committing suicide is an act equivalent to killing one's own parents. Know that parents whose children commit suicide will forever be deeply hurt and live as sinners in front of their children forever. Therefore, the sin of the suicide is the greatest of the unfilial piety. If you know that God is truly the God of love, and how much that God loved each and every human being as his children, there would be no one who commits sins. My brothers and sisters, that's why even though sometimes you are facing all kind of the issues and problems, you need to overcome. To not choosing to commit suicide. You need to overcome. Life of faith is overcoming and challenging and overcoming and then challenging, right? So you cannot overcome by your own self. That's why you need to believe in God. You need to borrow strength and power from the heaven to the 정성. Without utmost sincerity, 정성, you cannot get borrowed from heaven and spiritual world. You cannot overcome current reality. You cannot deal with Satan by yourself alone. That's why you need to get power to the 정성. You need to get strength from spiritual world, Heavenly Father, through the channel of the 정성, through stimulating God's word. You get the more power to control your body. That's why those who commit suicide, that means they do not believe in God. They completely ignore God. They completely ignore their own parents. This is really terrible actually. Destroy. Not just only destroy yourself, really destroy your parents. Destroy God's heart. Really hurting your parents forever. That's why don't do that. So we really need to really believe in God. And as long as God is a living God and believing God, and then God show the way how to solve the problem. When we create good condition, God helping us. If we create evil condition, Satan invade immediately. It is my portion of responsibility. Choose good condition or bad condition. Good condition means always need to have absolute alignment toward God. Living divine principle, the meaning of the freedom from the viewpoint of the principle. So let's start.
Freedom and the human requires both free will and the free actions pursuant to that will. Free will and free actions have the relationship of internal nature and external form, and perfect freedom is achieved when they are in harmony. Therefore, there cannot be any free action without free will, nor can free will be complete without free actions to accompany it. Free actions are generated by free will, and free will is an expression of the mind. The mind of an original sinless person cannot operate outside of God's words, that is, the principle. It will never express free will or generate free action apart from the principle. Undoubtedly, the freedom of a true person never deviates from the principle. There is no freedom without responsibility. Human beings create
restraint in the unprincipled realm. We must know that since God is the God of the principle, even God has absolute faith, absolute love, absolute obedience in his principle of creation. Do not mistakenly think that just because he is God, he is beyond the law and can do anything. Because of this, God is a great being. Next.
Absolutely.
Love cannot exist without the principle. The principle must exist in true love. Just because you are given freedom, it does not mean that just anyone can form a reciprocal relationship and love. Therefore, without the principle, there is no love. Because there is no freedom without the love. The freedom cannot exist without principle. Today, many young people have forgotten that. If everything is free, why do we have to obey God? There will be some people who ask, why do we have to obey Reverend Moon and following God and following true paths is to seek true freedom? It is because the true freedom starts from the true love. We need to know that just as freedom cannot exist outside the principle, true love also cannot exist outside the principle. True freedom is different from self-indulgence. Self-indulgence does not have the principle. At today's youth ministry, to not do fundraising while begging. I'm continually sharing about the attitude of the fundraising, meaning of the fundraising from yesterday. So let's listen carefully. I will immediately know if I have a false blood lineage or true blood lineage. Whether I am really someone grateful or someone full of dissatisfaction is revealed instantly. The quality of my blood lineage will immediately be revealed. When you fundraising, do not make it your goal to sell a lot, but make it your goal to meet many people as much as you can and visit many houses, train yourself. When we do something to a method and means become the goal, that's why we become people who lose their essence. All fallen men become controlled by external results or environment rather than seeking the essence. That's why you shouldn't make it your goal to restore your heart. Even if you have to intentionally pay the price of the hardships, fundraising where making money becomes the goal cannot cultivate your heart. If you set your goal in external things, if results are good, you will be in a good mood. If the results are bad, your spirit will sink so much. However, if you set your goal in restoring the heart, you will not be dominated by the environment or the result. If I am really determined to fundraise to truly become a person and do my best with all my sincerity, no matter what hardships I go through, then the results are surprisingly good. If my motivation is good, the spiritual world will support me and many people will try to support me as well. However, when fundraising, if you try to gain others' sympathy, that is on indecent method, you are so different than beggars of the world. On the contrary, if you fundraising, trying to restore your heart to the paying the price of suffering, the spiritual world will help you. I'm so grateful. And I had such kind of beautiful fundraising experience. I really learned a lot. When you do fundraising, you know what kind of the quality person what kind of quality person you are. You have the really good blood lineage inherited from your good ancestors. What kind of the temple do you have? Our temple. What kind of the character do you have? What kind of the blood lineage do you have? Immediately know. That's why when you focus on how can bring the result, how can make more money, nothing dealing with your spiritual growth. You need to know that. What's the purpose of fundraising? To restore my heart, cultivate my heart. That is the main purpose. That's why in USA and Asia, everywhere the leaders of the for young people, you need to teach them very clearly. You're just only emphasizing the goal. Oh, today you reach 1,000, 2,000. You are the best fundraiser. That is not the God's wishes. We need to know about that. Our final goal is to restore our heart. When you focus on about restoring heart, even result was very good, very strange, in good way, amazing. Next.